So there's nothing like being a perfect mom. There is no place in heaven where God is going to call your mother-in-law, call your husband, or call your neighbor and say they should testify about your life. Was this woman a good mom before I allow her enter heaven? Welcome to today's episode of Chilling with the Doctors. I'm your host, Dr. Mrs. Ezine. We share with you tips that will greatly improve your physical health as well as your mental health. But today we're going to be focusing more on our mental health. I want to address this topic on how to be a perfect mother, if there's anything like that really. Okay, so I'll be using some of my own experiences and what I've seen in the hospital to talk about this. My name is Ezine, and if you're Igbo or you know what that means, it actually means good mother. And in my place, there's actually a title for women who are thought to be great mothers. They give them this Ezine title in the church, or they give them the Inuma title. So I was born with the title, so to speak. I was born with that royalty of being a good mother. And being a mother in our society puts a lot of pressure on you. The definition of being a real woman was very hard to fit into. You were supposed to be virtuous, you were supposed to be a virgin, and yet somehow be very great in bed. You were supposed to be earning an income and somehow always still be at home. So these roles were very difficult to define, and society puts pressures on us. Our husbands put pressure on us, and even internally we feel that pressure to want to be perfect. When I first had my child, I decided that I was going to be a super mom. I decided that I was going to be that kind of mother who wasn't going to need house helps and somehow be able to keep my house clean. What used to happen is that in the morning when I wake up by that 5 a.m. to start my chores, my superwoman wife material chores, I'll now leave my son in front of the television. So even though I didn't have a nanny then, I soon found out that my television was becoming the nanny. Because to keep him occupied, to keep him not to disturb me, to interfere with what I was doing, he will sit down in front of the TV till like 7 o'clock when we're ready to leave the house. And when we come back in the evening, when I'm doing laundry, I'm cleaning the house, I'm preparing food for the next day, he will still be in front of the television. So I found out that not only was I stressing myself, and not to talk about the back aches I was having, I had very bad aches. In the night when I lie down on my bed, it was almost as if someone used a cutlass to cut my spine, to cut into my spine. The pain was so much, trying to do everything, trying to go to work, and still trying to do everything. There was always that temptation of, should I resign and stay at home? And then you now realize that, okay, when you resign and stay at home, you will no longer be the woman that is financially independent. And then if you say, okay, no, I want to focus on my career, I don't want to have kids, you're not like, okay, am I now going to have my kids in my 50s? When is there any break really in one's career that you say, okay, yes, I now have the time to have children? So it was always a constant mental and emotional struggle trying to balance the two. And because many of the other women outside were looking as if, one thing about women I've come to realize is that on the outside, even when they are very stressed inside, their faces look normal. Their makeup is on point, their hair is on point, they're on their high heels. So you feel like they got it all together. You're the one that has a problem. You're not being able to cope. But after a while, when I learned to open up, I found out that I wasn't the only one having these constant battles. And with time, I learned that I had to drop that super mom title, which is why I'm sharing this with you. This is the experiences that I've gathered over the years that I'm going to try to share with you in this, say, 10-15 minutes video, or even less video. I'm trying to share this with you to realize that trying to be perfect is actually a mistake. The work really is to be a good mom, not trying to be perfect. To understand that you will always be a work in progress. To understand that some questions you will never be able to answer until time goes on. So which is one of the first tips I'm going to be sharing in this video, is that stop trying to be perfect. Stop trying to win the praises. And of course, I saw a lot of women then that will tell you that I'm the only one that mops this. I had a friend that had a very big mansion, and she always had it as a thing of pride. I'm the only one that mops this house. And I'm like, she had to even resign. She had to drop out of work to be able to maintain and keep up with the image. At the end of the day, later in life, by the time she got into her 40s and her children were now all grown up, she regretted taking that career gap because it wasn't something that she planned. It's not as if it's wrong for you to resign if you want to, but it has to be something that is done intentionally, something that is done with a plan. She didn't plan it. She just wanted to win that accolade. And if you've been brought up in this environment, especially if you have a religious background, you may have been brought up to people please. So you want to impress your mother-in-law. You want to be that daughter-in-law in the family that people say they refer to. Sometimes you may unconsciously fall into that trap of wanting to be perfect, wanting to be the one that is pleasing everybody. So 2 things: stop trying to be perfect. Then the next thing is stop trying to please people. People's definitions of a good mom differ. Your mother-in-law's definition of a good mom may be a working class lady. Your husband's definition of a good mom may be a sit-at-home mom. So at the end of the day, you have to sit down and ask yourself, what am I going to use as my own definition? Because at the end of the day, we are going to sleep with our own conscience. You're going to have to define it in a way that when you put your head down in the night, you're happy with who you are becoming. You're happy with the life that you are living. And you're not living through somebody else's definition. You're not living life through somebody else's expectation. If you remember what the Bible says, when Jesus Christ asked his disciples, who do men say I am? He says some of them say you are Elijah. Some of them say that you are a prophet. But he said, who do you think I am? Some people also call Jesus the son of the carpenter. They never really saw him as the son of God. So you should realize that even though well-intentioned, people will always define you the way they want to define you. You have to decide how you want to define yourself. You will have to decide, what kind of mother do I want? And it was in this place where I decided to define the kind of mother I wanted to be that I was able to come to the third thing I'm going to be sharing, which is prioritizing. I had to prioritize. What did I really want? I wanted to spend time with my children. I didn't want my children to be trained by cartoons. So I realized that for me to spend time with them, it means that somebody else had to be doing the dishes, somebody else had to be doing the cleaning, so that I could sit down with them and do homework. I could sit down with them and listen to, because sometimes when you sit down with these kids, I've noticed, especially in the bathroom, when you're bathing them, they tell you things that happen that, men, if you missed that opportunity, you would have missed a teachable moment with these children. So I had to decide that, and I had to swallow a humble pill. Because if you suffer from perfectionism, you realize that asking for help may feel like a big deal to you. It may feel very difficult for you to do. So it was me leaving my comfort zone on trying to do everything by myself, trying to be in control, trying to think I was the only one that could do dishes, I was the only one that could keep my house clean, nobody else could do it. I had to swallow that humble pill and call my mama, like, Mommy, I need help. And I got help. And I want to thank everybody that has lived with me, that has helped me. You've made motherhood easy for me. And the good measure that you have sown into my life, God will make it back to you. So I've had very good people that have helped me in this journey. And I didn't expect them to be perfect either. So I didn't expect that when they come to my house, because they are the ones cleaning the house will be perfect. Because I'm paying you, you'll be able to mop the house and I'll be able to see my face on the tiles. I actually heard one man tell his wife that I want you to mop this floor so that I can see my face on the tiles. Okay, so that's prioritizing, deciding who you really want to be. And lastly, I want to share something that took me years to learn. I find a lot of women who struggle with postpartum depression, postpartum blues, and just moodiness. They suffer from this is the disappointment they get from their husbands. Many of us have this expectation that, okay, our husbands are going to be partnered in this parenting journey, that while you're in the kitchen making breakfast, is going to be with the children, bathing them. And while I find that a lot of men these days are helping out, many still struggle with those roles. It's not as if they don't love you, it's not as if they hate you. It's just, something you've grown up with. If a man grew up in a home where his father never boiled water, it will be difficult for him if he hasn't intentionally schooled himself to say he wants to go into the kitchen and even just microwave soup and make a bath for himself to eat. So you may now find yourself, it can become very lonely then, because you're struggling to raise these kids. You have this vision. We women, we have a way of having a vision of the kind of children we want. We want our children to be first in class. We want them to be the new Beethoven, very good in sports, good in music. And then many times men don't really define parenting that way. A lot of men may just see their roles as being the provider. I've paid school fees. I gave you money to buy books for them. So what else do you want from me? And it can make this journey very lonely, because your husband is supposed to be your best friend. He's supposed to be someone that is closest to you. He's supposed to be the one that you're bonding yourself to. And it can be very difficult when this person you're telling in the evening that, look, I'm having waist pain because of all the housework, and he's like looking at you, duh, that's what women do. Women do housework. Why are you complaining? You know, it can now even be an additional source of stress, because the person that you're supposed to be confiding in, sometimes unknowingly, unintentionally, is compounding the stress. So when your mother-in-law comes in and is saying, why is this whole house dirty, and your husband is not siding you, you may feel very lonely. So please don't expect too much from the man. Accept what you have. Now, I'm not saying you should tolerate abuse. I want to put that disclaimer. I'm not saying you should tolerate abuse, but I just want you to realize that he may not give you what you expect. And one of the things I've learned in dealing with human beings is to reduce your expectations from them. So you may expect him to be able to sweep the house when you are cooking. He may not be willing to do that. So don't allow yourself to fall into that place of bitterness, that place of unforgiveness, that place of sadness towards him, to the extent that some women get so bitter that they even stop having any sexual relations with their husband, because they feel abandoned, they feel disappointed that we made this child together. Is it just money you are bringing? I need you to bring in more than money. Sometimes the man is not even around. He may have a job that keeps him at work for 4 months, 5 months, 2 weeks, 1 month at a time. So he may not even be there for you. You get? So I don't want you to get into that place of bitterness. We're talking mental health here, and reducing your expectations of people is one way to ensure that you safeguard your mental health. I hope you found these tips useful. So there's nothing like being a perfect mom. There is no place in heaven where God is going to call your mother-in-law, call your husband, or call your neighbor and say they should testify about your life. Was this woman a good mom before I allow her enter heaven? There's nothing like that. Those are just societal expectations. And after a while, you realize that freedom comes when you decide to define what you want to be and separate yourself from those societal pressures. And also realize that the people that sometimes you expect to help you, like your husband, your relatives, these days people are busy. You may even call your sister. You may have put to bed. You call your sister, call your friend to come and hang out with you. And they too, they are busy with their own lives. So reduce your expectations of people. And that way, take it a day at a time. A time will come and these children will all grow up and they will not need you anymore. And if you have spent your youth in bitterness, by the time they have gone away, you realize that you're now trying to recover from all the heartache you've suffered over the years. And the times you have lost trying to be that perfect mom, time has passed you by. It's now it's difficult for you to say you want to start a career, you want to start a business in your 40s. Not that it's impossible, but you may just realize that time just went by and you don't. And these children are so hell-bent on living their own lives. So I hope you found these tips useful. If you did, please subscribe, please share. If you're a husband that saw this video, please share with your wife. It may help her become a happier person. Thank you very much for watching. Till next time. Bye.